That's so loud. Just like in my classes, I always say, not a moment before you're ready, and I'll know when you are, when you gently bring yourself back to this moment and just gently open your eyes.
I turned the volume up. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Really? All good. Just the same, whenever you're ready, not a moment before, you bring yourself back into this moment for this opportunity. And I'll know that you are here and ready to begin with your eyes gently open. And everyone's eyes are gently open, so we can begin. First 50, y'all. First 50. Ooh. Anthony and I had a beautiful, just the two of us yesterday. So nice. And I'm happy to just be here now. Ooh, did y'all do y'all homework? You did? Cool.
What was my homework? Was it watching? I had to watch 30 days or 28 days.
All of us. You did it?
Yeah. I watched it. I watched it twice.
You did? I fell asleep.
I didn't do it.
That's all right. Yeah, I know you're our rebel chick. You're like, yeah, give me no homework. Follow my rules.
No homework for me.
Exactly. Suckers. Did you done?
I ordered it and it came in the mail today while I was at work.
You ordered it?
At Amazon.
Wow. I just rented it for a couple of days on Amazon. And fell asleep. I tried to watch it. And you know what? I felt really, it wasn't that bad. I was being such a brat. It wasn't like, I don't know what was, I got a thought in my head and I was showing out. That's why that video won't show. I was acting up last week.
You were acting, I think.
You saw me? I was acting up. I got a thought in my mind and could not let it go.
Let it go.
So, only I'll know about it. And the people with the link. So anybody that's watching this later on and you don't have a link, it never happened. All right.
You'll be lucky if you get the link.
That's right. It never happened.
That's right. Never happened.
I got the link, so prove me wrong. All right, here we go. All right, let's start with you, Doug.
All right, will do.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Nothing I see means anything. The reason this is so is that I see nothing. And nothing has no meaning. It is necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn to see. What I think I see now is taking the place of vision. I must let it go by realizing it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place. Nothing I see means anything. But I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me. I've judged everything I look upon. And it is this and only this I see. This is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality, because my judgments have made me quite apart from reality. I am willing to recognize the lack of my validity in my judgments, because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me. And I do not want to see according to them. I have given what I see all the meaning it has for me.
Could you do another one?
I do not understand anything I see. How could I understand what I see when I've judged it amiss? What I see is the projection of my own errors of thought. I do not understand what I see because it is not understandable. There is no sense in trying to understand it. But there is every good reason to let it go and make room for what can be seen and understood and loved. I can exchange what I see now for this merely by being willing to do so. Is not this a better choice than the one I made before? I do not understand anything I see.
Thank you. Anna.
These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything because I am trying to think without God. What I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. I am not aware of them because I've made my thoughts to take their place. I am willing to recognize that my thoughts do not mean anything and to let them go. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God. I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think because I am constantly trying to justify my thoughts. I am constantly trying to make them true. I make all things my enemies so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. I have not realized how much I have misused everything I see by assigning this role to it. I have done this to defend a thought system that has hurt me and that I no longer want. I am willing to let it go. I am upset because I see what is not there. Reality is never frightening. It is impossible that it could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I'm upset, it is always because I have replaced reality with illusions I made up. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality and thus regard reality as an illusion. Nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mine. I am always upset by nothing.
Keep going.
I see only the past. As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon. I call this seeing. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making them my enemies. When I have forgiven myself and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past and therefore no enemies. And I will look with love on all that I failed to see before.
Thank you, sis. Heidi.
My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see only my own thoughts, and my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? Let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from dawning on my mind. Let me understand that I am trying to use time against God. Let me learn to give the past away, realizing that in doing so, I am giving up nothing. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. And I see nothing as it is now. If I see nothing as it is now, it can truly be said that I see nothing. I can see only what is now. The choice is not whether to see the past or the present. The choice is merely whether to see or not. What I have given to see has cost me vision. Now I would choose again that I may see. I want to do another one.
Yeah, I do too. When you breathe. I feel you right now. Yeah. Just let that happen.
My thoughts do not mean anything. I have no private thoughts. Yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist, and so they mean nothing. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of its creator. Would I not rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless private?
Oh. Do another one.
Do not mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything.
Do another one.
My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. Since the thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything, the world that pictures them can have no meaning. What is producing this world is insane, and so is what it produces. Reality is not insane, and I have real thoughts as well as insane ones. I can therefore see a real world if I look to my real thoughts as my guide for seeing. Hmm. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world.
Thank you. I'm gonna read a few, but Doug, you're calling me right now. I want to hear a few from you. Why? And I'll read after you. I don't know. I just feel you right now. If you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Yes. A meaningless world engenders fear. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no ground for trust. Nothing in madness is dependable. It holds out no safety, no hope. But such a world is not real. I have given it the illusion of reality and have suffered from my belief in it. Now, I choose to withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. In choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear because I am acknowledging that it does not exist. The meaningless world engenders fear.
Did we skip one? Or did I skip it?
Should I go back to 12? Did I skip one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Tricky. Tricky. Right on. Yeah, we caught you. I see you. I see you.
I am upset because I see a meaningless world. Insane thoughts are upsetting. They produce a world in which there is no order anywhere. Only chaos. Only chaos rules a world that represents chaotic thinking. And chaos has no laws. I cannot live in peace in such a world. I am grateful that this world is not real and that I need not see it at all unless I choose to value it. And I do not choose to value what is totally insane and has no meaning. I am upset because I see a meaningless world.
Keep going.
The meaningless world engenders fear. The totally insane engenders fear because it is completely undependable and offers no ground for trust.
Thank goodness.
Nothing. Are you getting this? Nothing in mass is dependable. It holds out no safety and no hope. But such a world is not real. I have given it the illusion of reality, and it suffered because of my belief in it. Now I choose to withdraw this belief and place my trust in reality. In choosing this, I will escape all the effects of the world of fear, because I'm acknowledging that it does not exist. A meaningless world engenders fear.
Do another.
Eat. Go for it, Heidi.
Oh, you got the mic right on. Okay.
I do.
God did not create a meaningless world.
No. Stop. Sit up straight. You're already feeling it and you're trying not to. Let yourself be true to where you're at with this lesson. There's emotions and there's things and stuff going on. It's like acknowledge those, let it in. If you read this book properly, if you read it like with total, what do you call that? Devotion and all of those sorts of spiritual sort of perspectives on things, when you proceed, you'll realize that every single moment and every effort you put into it is this vast unraveling of this ball of emotional string. And right now I can tell you have that in you. Look at Anna. Anna's totally going it. Brilliant. Offer it up, Anna. Right. Heidi, take a deep breath and connect with spirit. When you read these words, go deeper. Right. The habitual response of the mind that's trying to maintain some sort of physical presence, some sort of physical thing, is to want to not commit 100% to things. It kind of tries to avoid the damage, avoid the collateral, avoid everything else, and it'll just sort of stay in it, but not really. It's like Jesus says, you want to seek but not find. And it's like every moment has to be in my awareness. My ego is attempting to allow me to seek but not to find. If I'm going to transcend that, if I'm going to get beyond that kind of level, I need to be in charge of my thinking. I need to be telling myself what I'm here to do, not my ego. And learning to become aware of that subtle difference is a big part of the mind training. Until you're actually aware of how it is your ego co-opts everything, You're just going to assume that because you're reading the lessons and because you're doing the lessons and everything else, that you're doing it with the best of your ability, and you're not. Right? There is always more. There is always a deeper resonance. There is always a greater expansion of the vista that is available through doing something 101%. It's like I'm always telling you guys, breathe, get grounded, do this from your heart space. Feel the words, feel the vibration. The words are just symbols that represent something else. You got to feel this. You got to really let it in. If you're a screaming, kicking mess on the floor, throwing up vomit and swearing at me and calling me names, I love that. That's great. But if you're sitting there with your poker face on, trying to hold it all together, that's like, man, I call bullshit. You know, it's like, that's not it. Bullshit. There's a game we have here called bullshit. Do you guys have that? It's like you do? I think it's like a questions and answers game. Oh, Tina's going to look for it.
We do? Oh, I totally want to
It's a
play that.
card game.
Oh, I think we have a board game called bullshit. And you have
Oh, I
you
totally want to play that
question whether it's true
Play
or
with
false.
cards.
Right. Anyway, let's get not sidetracked here too much.
It's
Squirrel.
meaningless.
Right. It is meaningless. Heidi, good. Take a breath. Feel. This is your salvation. It's not like anything else the world is telling you that this is your something. This is literally the time of your salvation. This is how you participated in it. Feel it. Connect with it. All the other lackluster half efforts at being part of something, you can do that when this Zoom meeting's over. But for now, it's total. It's all or nothing. We're in for the whole thing. We've paid our penny. The roller coaster's going up the hill. We're all totally shit scared of it going down the other side. But when we're here regardless. We're doing this. Breathe. Feel. This is a good lesson. Go for it.
God did not create a meaningless world. How can a meaningless world exist if God did not create it? He is the source of all meaning, and everything that is real is in his mind. It is in my mind too, because he created it with me.
There you go. Go on.
Why should I continue to suffer from the effects of my own insane thoughts?
Reach.
And the perfection of creation is my home.
Yes. Breathe.
Let me remember the power of my decision and recognize where I really abide. God did not create a meaningless world.
Do the next one. Take a breath.
My thoughts are images that I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It is my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am. The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I am seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts and am not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see.
Can you hear that? You're not allowing it. You're not allowing it. I am not allowing. That's a conscious, deliberate action of mind. I'm not allowing it. Now let that in. There's a whole vision that Christ is waiting to show me. There's a whole other thing, and I'm not allowing it. I'm sitting here doing these lessons. I'm telling myself that would be nice. I'd like to have that vision. But at the same time, I'm not allowing. Right? Deliberately. Now, that's the block you got to find. That's the place you got to look at in your own heart, in your own mind. It's like, why would I want to not allow that? There's obviously some reason I had for it in the first place. There's obviously some decision I made prior to coming across this course where I thought not allowing that would be in my best interests, would provide me some kind of safety. Right? You've been taught badly. You've been taught badly. You've been taught that what you perceive to be your own best interests as setting up structures of defense, as ways of thinking about things in your own mind, is somehow a good thing. And you've set this whole thing in place. The foundation stone for that is an illusion. The foundation stone for that is rooted in fear, or it is what fear is, as an idea so opposite of reality. It makes no sense to anyone who perceives love as it is, love as unconditional. It's ridiculous. But yet that is what we're facing. That is what we're looking at. That is the journey into fear. I've got to find that. I've got to find in me where I'm not allowing that. That's the journey. I can sit here and read these lessons all day long. Every day, for years, for decades, centuries, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. But just that one indicator shows me, hang on a minute, I've got some work to do here. Jesus is telling me that the kingdom of heaven is mine for the asking, and yet I'm not allowing that to happen. It's given freely. So like there's a point where it's like, let me sit in the uncomfortable moment that represents. Let me just sit there for a second. I'm being offered everything, eternal life, the ability to move on in the journey of my soul out of this third dimensional shithole, and I don't want it. And I'm sitting here literally with this spiritual teaching, trying to make a decision about that. Right? But the decision, in a certain sense, has already been made for you. All you got to do is say yes. All you got to do is say, I'm willing. And you'll be shown where it is that block is in you. It'll just show up. You'll be like, holy cow, I see that I don't want God. I don't want love. I don't want any of this stuff Jesus is talking about. I must be crazy. Right? And that revelation is in the same moment devastating, but also incredibly liberating, seen rightly. Seen rightly, you'll be like, oh, thank God I found that. Thank God I've actually seen that in my mind as a way that I view things. Now I can choose again. I'll give that whole shenanigans to the Holy Spirit and whoop, I'll proceed along. You know, there are literally light bulb moments in this where you'll be reading something and the light will go on and you'll be like, oh my God, that's so true of me. I used to read this book and there was a part of my mind that subconsciously thought that some parts were included in for other people. Like Jesus had written this book, and it's like, I don't relate to that. He must have put that in for other people with different psychological difficulties so they can relate to it. It's like, no, every single word. I'm exactly the same as you, as everyone and anything. Every single word of it is verbatim. When he says I'm actively denying the Christ and actively trying to push it away, even in the process of doing these lessons, that's exactly what he means. So I've got to look at it. It's like, holy cow, I must be nuts if that's true. Yeah. So, and that's a good place to be. That's actually mental health rather than mental illness. Mental health is realizing the problem. It's like, oh, the second that you find that in your own mind, you're free of it. And everything that represented as a way of seeing and as a way of deciding about things falls away automatically like dominoes. Just But the Holy Spirit requires your permission. Okay. So I want you to read that lesson again. Close your eyes, take a breath, and really try to feel. Imagine a scenario where something you've been through perhaps in life that has triggered you at your deepest emotional level, something that you perhaps thought you would never recover from. A breakup, perhaps, the death of a loved one, some catastrophic disaster. Imagine how deep those sorts of things push you to emotionally. Okay. Now, just below that level is hidden all of these blockages. Just below that level, where you think you just can't go any further, is the actual reason that you seem to still find yourself confronted by the particulars of the world, the blocks that were put into place, or the ideas of those blocks. There are actually no real blocks, just a set of false beliefs. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to read this lesson and immediately go to that deep emotional sort of level, but at least you'll get some idea of what it is that the journey entails, where it is that you're eventually going to have to go. Okay. The mind is expansive. The mind is really expansive. We tend to operate within this comfortable little band of emotionality that we call being normal. And then throughout the course of a life, whether you're doing something spiritual or not, it doesn't really matter. Throughout the course of a life, that idea of normal will be challenged. Political shifts and change, wars, diseases, everything. All of a sudden, everything's thrown into turmoil. And your emotions just, like, you're not even aware. It's like, wow, I didn't know that I was so emotional, right? You have all these sorts of things. In this, we're going to plumb those depths, but we're going to do it with grace. We're going to do it with love. We're going to do it with true purpose. We're not going to do it so that we can just be spun around in the rabbit hole and flung out like victims of something. Okay. We're doing it for a purpose. And because our purpose is holy, that holiness goes with us. We're joining in that purpose. This is a crusade. It's a journey into fear. I'm telling you, it's okay to feel. It's totally okay to go to those uncomfortable places. They have no power over you. They have no power over you. All the meaning that you've given them, you can take back. But first, you have to see the meaning you've given it. Otherwise, you're kind of like just always slightly avoiding it, doing the work, but never quite reaching the target. Now, when that'll be, I have no clue. Maybe in this lesson, Jesus says in the course, perhaps today, perhaps tomorrow. Some will find it in these lessons. Some will find it in an experience that's not of the world and all that sort of thing. I'm telling you, let's train our minds to find it. Let's train our minds to be vigilant for our bullshit and to find it. This is the one place on earth where we get really real with ourselves. The one place on earth where we come together for that whole purpose. We draw this circle and we're like, man, I am here to find my bullshit and to own it. I'm not here to play nice and be spiritual and say the right words, do the right things. Fuck that. I can go to all sorts of workshops and seminars and everyone's going to be nice and loving and all of that stuff. And no one's going to push me to any kind of a limit because I'm paying money for it or something, you know? Or there's some kind of false face to try and maintain and present at the next seminar, the next meeting. I don't give a shit. You guys enter into this thing here, into this circle with me, and I'm an arsehole. I'm going to tell you right to your face, I've done this. I've been to my emotional bottom. I wanted to slit my wrists. I wanted to push the button on the nuclear device and blow myself into nothing so I didn't have to exist. And that was the worst, darkest, bottom place I've ever been. And I'm not saying you're going to go right to that place right here and now. If you do, fantastic. But at least let's take the step. Right? Every time we take a step, that bottom place gets a little worse. Not because it suddenly doesn't represent what it's always represented, but because the fear that we had of taking that last step, we took it and we saw there was nothing to fear. And so now we know, based on that, we can take the next step and there'll be nothing to fear. And even though one illusion seems to have more claws and teeth than another one, we know that they're just illusions, just illusions. We're going to face them exactly the same way we did with the last one. Down the rabbit hole we go. It's okay to feel this. You have to feel it. You gotta really like let it in. Like the ego is so well defended. That part of the mind that is just reading these words and doing this thing, it's like it is so well defended. That's its whole job, is defense. It does nothing but defend itself from love. It's like a big bad wolf and you're a tiny little rabbit. But something in that tiny little rabbit is so strong, so powerful, that it laughs in the face of the big bad wolf. It faces its fears. It laughs. It knows it's faster than a wolf. It knows it can run out of there if it wants. But the fact that it doesn't run sends the wolf into a spin. Why aren't you running? The wolf doesn't know what to do with that. That's the moment the miracle gets in. The moment you say, no, I'm not adjusting. No, I'm not running away. No, I'm not going to hide. I can do that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stand here. I'm going to feel the terror of this moment totally and offer it to God. It has to be that. Anna, it has to be that. Because we've been trained badly to run. We've been trained badly to adjust. We've been trained badly to do anything other than face our fears. You read this 20-minute book, the fears are there, but the mind is so well guarded against letting it in truly, against total recognition of it. It's like, it literally takes a miracle. My whole purpose in this is to bring you guys from out here somewhere, like in, right to this point of confrontation, right to the paradox where we seem to exist but don't. I seem to be talking to a computer with other people on the other end and all this sort of stuff. None of that is true. I'm not going to be convinced of that, however, because all my senses, everything of my being attests to it and tells me that it's true. I'm going to need a miracle. And when I read these lessons and Jesus tells me that I'm actively not allowing for that to occur, it's like, okay, I'll let Jesus be right about that and I'll let me be wrong about that so I can be shown where it is in my own thinking that I've set up the foundation for my point of view. Right? Do it again, Heidi. Close your eyes. You're a warrior. You're a warrior. You're going into battle. It's not really a battle, but it's like You're going to make a confrontation with yourself. Think of it, feel about it. This is one moment in all of time you've been trying to put off. It's inevitable, and you know it's inevitable. Seek the truth and it will set you free. When you're ready, go for it.
My thoughts are images that I have made. Whatever I see reflects my thoughts. It's my thoughts that tell me where I am and what I am.
Yes.
The fact that I see a world in which there is suffering and loss and death shows me that I am seeing only the representation of my insane thoughts and am not allowing my real thoughts to cast their beneficent light on what I see. Yet, God's way is sure. The images I have made cannot prevail against him because it is not my will that they do so. My will is his, and I will place no other gods before him. My will is his, and I will place no other gods before him. My thoughts are images that I have made. That's not my will.
Good. Do the next one.
I have no neutral thoughts. Neutral thoughts are impossible because all thoughts have power. They will either make a false world or lead me to the real one. But thoughts cannot be without effects. As the world I see arises from my thinking errors, so will the real world arise before my eyes as I let my errors be corrected. My thoughts cannot be neither true nor false. They must be one or the other. What I see shows me which they are.
Do I see bodies? Do I see stories about bodies? The dramas of the world that I think I have to heal from? Or am I seeing the Christ? Beyond the form, beyond the illusion. That's an experience. You only have to see it once and you'll never be fooled again. The whole world disappears before your eyes, like mists before the sun. The whole thing vanishes. And all of a sudden, your mind is split into two camps. One that can now choose safely for what reality is, having had the experience and the knowledge of it. And the other one that still bears witness for a moment to the illusion as it topples bit by bit by bit, like dominoes. This journey is not like any other journey that the world holds out for you to take, any other spiritual discipline. It's like this is where it really gets thick and sticky and real, and you can see your own position. You can see your own place in the grand scheme of things. You can see what it is right in front of your nose, right in front of your face, that is your work to do on your own spiritual path. It's obvious. So many people I've met that have bad karma, let's say, if you want to call it that, or have stuff, shit happens. That's what we say over here. Shit happens. And people say, well, there must be a lesson in it, or there's a reason for it, or whatever. But nobody knows what that is. They just accept that there's some kind of higher thing that they're unaware of. Now, we can't say we're unaware of it. We don't have the luxury of being able to say, well, I don't know why this is happening to me. We can't say those sorts of things. Jesus is spelling it out, saying, this is happening to you because, right? You guys are learning to become teachers. In the course of your lifetime, people are going to be coming to you, and you're going to be representing the way, the truth, and the light. You're going to have to sit down with somebody and tell them the reason this stuff is happening to you is because blah, blah, blah. There's no longer a, I don't know, it must just be some kind of divine thing that I don't really understand. We no longer have that. For whatever reason it is, we're all in here together in this little room, and we've all made a decision to be here, and there's no accidents, there's no coincidences. Nothing happens by accident. And there may be moments where you think, how the hell did I get into this? But there may be moments also where you think, thank God I found this. But the process or the way by which everything becomes clear is to actually do the work, to actually seek for the blocks and find them. When that part of the journey is done, the rest of it is nothing. It's smooth sailing. At the beginning, it's confrontation, confrontation, confrontation with my own crap. It's like, man, I didn't even know I had all this crap. Until Jesus explained it to me, I didn't realize the depth of the crap that I'm standing in. It's like, it seems like there's a bottomless pit of crap. And it's like, well, there is until you get to the bottom. Right? There's no point. And funny story just came to mind. But anyway, there's no point dilly-dallying around halfway in a vat of shit. Let's get to the bottom, because at the bottom there's a plug. We can pull that plug out. Right? At the bottom, there's a little door. There's a trap door. And it's like light shines through there. But I've placed my deepest, darkest fears at the bottom of the pit. I don't want to go there. I've set up this whole system of belief that says, don't look at that idea of separation. Don't look at that idea, the foundations for the belief in separation. Because if you do, you'll understand that it's false. If you do, you'll understand that your whole world is nothing but an upside down house of cards built on like this shakiest foundation possible, a whim, a tiny mad idea. I'm going to tell the funny story here because it is kind of funny, talking about vats of shit. Many years ago, I worked at Daydream Island, and if you've never heard of it, Google it up. It's a beautiful little place in the Whitsunday Passage. And Everything on the islands are self-contained. We've got all these resort islands out here, and they're about, some of them are half an hour or an hour out by fast boat. And Daydream Island has a resort of about 300 rooms and staff accommodations. It's fully self-sustaining. There's some sewerage systems, electricity systems. Everything's generated and perpetuated on the island. There's no offshore help apart from the barge once a week with all the food and everything that comes over. But in this particular thing, the sewage pump stopped working. So all the poops that were getting flushed down in the resort and the staff quarters were all coming to this loggerhead, like into this big pumping room where there was this huge pit and there was this massive pump at the bottom of the pit. Now, somehow, right, this pump is supposed to have a chain attached to the top, which goes up through the ship and attached to this kind of pole at the top. And somehow the chain had come undone. There was no other way to get to the pump to reattach the chain except out through the ship, right? We didn't have time to have another barge and organize another pump to come over. That would have taken 3 or 4 days. And by then the toilets would be overflowing in the resort. It would be national disaster. And there was a dozen of us engineers and workers. I was a gardener. Luckily I got out of this one, but standing around this big pit, which was full to the top of poop and paper and like disgusting. And the chief engineer, the guy in charge of the whole thing, there's 2 plumbers, the chief engineer, whatever, irrigation guys, they're all standing around this pit. The pit's about 9 foot, 10 foot deep, right? It's over your head. And the chief engineer, talking to the little group, he said, I cannot in good faith ask you guys to do something I wouldn't do myself. And he jumped into the pit with the chain and the hook at the end of the thing, and the weight of the chain took him straight to the bottom. He knew the pump, you know, how it was in the loop and everything, and he clicked the chain, which had a quick click thing on it, onto the pump and came back up, covered in shit, in his ears, in his nose, everywhere, like eyes closed, obviously, but came back up, pulled himself up the chain, covered in shit. And 2 of the other guys helped him out of the thing, and all 3 of them ran straight down into the ocean on the boat ramp near there and had a wash, you know, thing. But it's like, he was willing to go to the bottom. It was the worst, disgusting, most horrifying job, right? Now, that job, imagine had he known that job was a symbolic representation, that moment was a symbolic representation of actually confronting all fear about having to do that. All of that icky, irky, yucky thoughts about it, all the, oh my God, I can never do that. Thank God somebody else is doing it, all of that, all right? That's your moment. That's where this gets, right? And it's like the decision is literally, all right, I'm doing it or I'm not doing it. In every time there's a confrontation, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to the bottom and attach the chain, because when I attach the chain, I can pull the pump out and fix it. And then the interests of everybody are served. The whole island, it's the greater good, right? In the year 2022, whatever we're in, our decision to confront our bullshit serves the greater good. Those who come after us in 100 years or 1,000 years will have a less deeper hole to go into because of what we're doing today, the efforts that we're making, right? The more that awaken, the more that awaken, the greater we embody the way, the truth, and the life. The greater we embody that, the more we represent it. The more we represent it, the more others see our light shine, right? It happens subconsciously. It doesn't happen by standing on a soapbox and saying, hey, I've got something to say. That's just part of this. That's just part of where we're at. That's just part of a process where for a moment words are useful so we can embody what it is to become a teacher of this, right? In a specific form, in a specific way. But the deeper we go, the more we resonate with our purpose and our identification with the Christ in us, until it reaches critical mass threshold in us, and we're at the bottom and we attach the chain to the pump. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like there's this dipping a toe in, dipping a toe in, dipping a toe in. And every time you read these workbook lessons, it's like, whoop. Every time you read these workbook lessons, it's like I'm dipping my toe in, thinking about going in the whole way, but not actually doing it until finally I do it. Right? And that's all this ever is. It's keeping us in this frequency. Right? This Course in Miracles, doing the lessons and applying the principles, keeps us in the frequency of our salvation. We're constantly aware of our responsibility to ourselves and the sonship through becoming aware of when our peace of mind is disturbed by something, especially when it's been disturbed by something in reading these lessons. Right? These lessons are just a beginning. They're designed to take the lid off. They're designed to show you what it is your mind is actually doing deliberately, rather than thinking that I'm like everybody else and my mind's just as fucked up as everybody else. Yes, it is. But there is only my mind. There is only mind asleep or mind awake. And it's like in the moment that I remember that, I can choose again. I'm choosing to be mind awake in this moment. But to do that, this moment, which is cluttered up with my fears, has to be cleaned out, has to be healed, has to be released, so that the Holy Spirit can flow in there. The Spirit of wholeness can flow in and allow love to come back to where it was before. Right? I tried to cover love with my own nonsense, but it's still there. But I've got to remove my nonsense to see it. All right. I think Heidi's having a thing. So Tina, you want to do the next one? Any questions on that, by the way? Oh, Doug has his hand up. I just realized that little symbol. No, he doesn't. He does. You got a little hand up there, Doug.
Oh, well, I didn't know I did. I don't have any question.
Okay, you can put your hand down. I don't even know how that hand, I don't even know where that is on my screen.
I think that's your hand, Dave, because he doesn't have his
What?
hand up. I think that's your little hand. Touch
There
your
we
Oh,
mouth.
it's my cursor off my mouse.
I thought. Yeah.
Usually it looks like an arrow. I don't know why it's a hand today, but anyway. Okay.
All right.
Heidi, you all good with that?
Yeah, sorry, I missed that very last part. I left my water running.
That's okay. You left your what running?
I was watering my plants for the first time this year. And I just let it go. The raspberries are fine for a while.
Oh, that's good. Everybody likes raspberries. The fruits of your work, the raspberries. All right, so that's good. It's like, let's be authentic about this. That's the word everyone uses these days, authentic. Let's be authentic, or let's be more honest about it. And the idea too that familiarity breeds contempt. If you've been doing these workbook lessons for a while, they tend to become familiar. And so you need to also be aware that my ego is going to use that idea of I've read this before, I know what it says, I know what it means, as a way to actually try to stop you from actually feeling really what it means, as if it wasn't somehow brand new right here, right now, which actually it is, right? Because there is only this moment here and now. And in the moment I read these lessons from that point of view, brand new here and now, I'll hear it, right? It's part of the it's part of the conundrum or the temptation or whatever is to believe that I've read this before, I know what it says, and so therefore, yeah, I've done that, blah, blah. And you wait for the good bit, you know. Literally, the good bit is here and now. The good bit is the confrontation. You can pick apart any sentence in this whole course and just go, oh my God, he's talking to me. It's devastating and liberating all at once. Devastating and liberating. So thank God for that. Some spiritual teachers have described this as the death of the ego, but like what doesn't exist can't really ever die. But we're retraining that part of the mind. We're retraining the part of the mind that believes it's possible it can be separate from God again and again and again in the reasonability of how that doesn't make sense. If God is everything, how could I possibly even be retraining myself to not believe that? Right? There's this conundrum that always pushes me into the paradox. I'm not sitting here doing A Course in Miracles, but I find myself sitting here doing A Course in Miracles. I'm not learning there is no world, but I seem to be doing that in a world. Or I am learning there is no world, but I seem to be doing that in a world. It's like the paradox is unavoidable. And when you can see it in everything, right, the mind just automatically goes into this kind of function where it has to choose again, choose again, choose again, choose again, thus retraining the mind without your necessity to sit there and analyze every paradox you come across. Right? Eventually it just does it by itself and you'll be walking around going, hey, I just made a decision for peace and something else happened and I don't even remember doing it. My mind just did it automatic. You know, it's like when you train a little kid to go to the potty and then finally they go to the potty rather than wet their pants and you're like, oh, thank God, you're going to the potty. You may still wet your pants a bit, but at least you know now how to use the potty and you can make the choice to do the potty if you get there on time or not, you know, like that's a different matter. But sometimes there's an orchestration of lining up how long it's going to take to get to the potty. You know what I mean? It's tricky. When you're like 2 years old or whatever, it's tricky. That potty's like this whole kingdom of coordination. So, but that's the same with the decisions that we're making in our mind. That's the same with absolutely every decision we're making. There's a whole orchestration and a coordination of conceptual matter that goes on first so we can see the backstory of the decisions we're making because we don't trust Jesus. We have no clue. This is some mythical figure from 2,000 years ago that I'm told just scribed a book and it fell bloop, into Helen Schuckman's lap. And like, do I really trust it? Of course not. Because I don't trust anything. Not a damn thing. I'm always trying to look out for my own best interests and defend myself and blah, blah, blah. That's me. Ugly, horrible, vicious, suspicious, doubting Dave. How did I get this way? I learnt badly. I learnt badly. And in amongst my bad learning, I find that I'm in a whole world of very bad learners, and all of us are trying to pretend that we didn't learn that way and put on a smiley face. You know, it doesn't work. You don't fool me. I see past the mask. I see past the disguise. You're just as fucked up as me, right? In our admission together that we need help, we join in this collaborative venture called salvation, where the light of reason comes into our thinking and we begin to look at our situation, which we thought was only maybe a little situation. We're not too fucked up. Look at those guys. They're more fucked up than us. At least we're not like that. And then all of a sudden we open the book and we realize, holy crap, I am those guys. That's fucked up. That's really hectic stuff to try and take on board. I'm one with everything. I am one with everything, as above, so below. The psychopath and the saint. I'm both of those things because I find myself existing within a framework of potential. At any tick of the clock, I can be off that way or off that way. I can be running to someone's rescue or seeking revenge for some, thing that I think has been done to me. It's crazy stuff. Right? But in the middle of all of that, in the here and the now, I am. That's where I'm learning to be. I'm reaching out there with my feelings and I'm going, all right, I'm going to go as deep in that direction as I can. And I'm going to take back all my crazy shit and all my saintly stuff over there. I don't want any of that either, because one verifies the other. I'm bringing it all here and I'm going to be reborn. I'm going to start again, here and now. I'm handing all of this stuff that I'm bringing back, including back into my conscious awareness of being one with everything. I'm handing it all back as my judgments to the Holy Spirit. Here, I've judged this person and that person, this situation, that person. I've judged myself. I've judged my kids, my universe, my everything. I don't want any of that anymore. Right? But I have to realize that I'm the one judging. I have to realize that I'm the dreamer of my dream. I have to let myself go to that place where I'm the psychopath and the saint. And you'll be sitting there saying, well, how do I associate with the psychopath? How can I even find that in my mind? That guy's like Hannibal Lecter, you know, Silence of the Lambs, cutting people's skin off and eating their liver with a Chianti. If you haven't seen the movie, it's a good movie. But it's like that psychopathic potential exists as a fragment of the full spectrum of denial in every single mind. Okay. And you'll say to me, well, I'm just a kid from the burbs, you know, I don't really have any of that kind of psychomania in me, really. But the fact that you can judge it, the fact that you can associate it in your own mind tells me that you do. You know about it, you just don't want to know about it. You know it's there because you've given it a meaning. You relate to it. You can say that's good and that's bad. You can say, I'm glad I'm not like that. You can put the story of it into context, right? But the context of it only exists within the framework of your own consciousness. Okay? Into this ridiculous situation comes a teacher of God. Let's look at that again. Let's look at the context into which you've put this person called psychopath or this person called saint, and seem to hold yourself at bay from it, seem to hold yourself separate from that, right? If this is a journey into oneness, if this is a journey into singularity, then I am one with the psychopath, I'm one with the saint, I'm one with all of it, right? I don't want to think like that anymore. I don't want to have those associations, good or bad. I just want to have the relationship with the universe that I share with God, which is unconditional love. All my definitions, I don't want them anymore. But before I can give them up, before I can offer them to God for healing, I got to look at them. And I think to myself, well, I'd like to look at the ideas about myself being a saint. That would be nice. I performed 3 miracles and the Catholic Church sort of writes me into their book, 3 miracles, verified, tick, tick, tick. This person's a saint. And I'll become Saint Davidus of Australia's land down under us, you know, and like people like, that's incredible. What did he do? That's a big boost for the ego, right? But also on the other spectrum, the saint and the psychopath, I'm a psychopath. I started a Kool-Aid cult where everybody drank the Kool-Aid in the name of some ridiculous thing and all died. You know, that's a big boost for the ego. The ego loves for you to be either totally happy about your reflection or your perspective of life on one side of the spectrum or the other. It doesn't care. As long as you don't question the spectrum itself, it's happy. It'll keep you busy. You can buy a gun and go to some school and mow down all the kids. And in your own mind, you can feel completely justified about that. Right? Now, where is it that I could find that justification in my thinking? Would I ever let myself go there to that place? There by the grace of God goes I. How can I find the love in my heart? How can I find that empathy and compassion for that brother whose journey has become so loveless that his only hope of being heard and only hope of expressing himself is to do such a thing? But yet I'm called upon to love my enemy. I'm called upon to love my enemy. But it's me who makes that person an enemy to me. I love the story of Mary Blunt, the angel of death row. And you can look her up. I think I've told this story here before. I know I've definitely done a video on Mary. I had a bumper sticker on my van once in Tilba, and it said, "Forgiveness, giving up all hope for a better past." And underneath, WW Mary Blunt Foundation, or whatever the thing was, right, the website. And Mary, her son was murdered, right, by whoever it was, some youth gang member in America somewhere. He was caught and sent to death row. Right now, her son was murdered, like violently murdered, sent to death row. The whole thing was unbearable to her, and she came, I think she was a religious woman, went to church and everything. I have a feeling that was the thing. I'm a bit rusty on the story, but she knew at a certain point that she had to forgive this guy. She knew she had to. Is that your garden, Heidi? Are you out doing gardening?
No, I just had to let my cat in. I didn't want to miss it.
Right, so she knew that she had to forgive the guy that murdered her son, or she would not be at peace. Right. Anyway, he was on death row for like 12 years or something, or however long you stay there. And then she'd forgotten all about it, forgotten that he was there, forgotten that he was up for being put to death. And then one day on the radio, she heard an announcement saying that his not crucifixion, what do you call it? Exterminate. What do you call that when you, whatever it is, that it was coming up time for him to be executed, his execution, right? And in her heart, she realized a moment of joy. She was glad that his comeuppance had finally come around. And she realized in that moment she hadn't forgiven at all, right? She realized in that moment that all her attempts at forgiveness were just words. They were just on the surface, that she didn't allow herself to forgive how she really, really, really felt. Right? She went to death row and actually looked him in the eyes, and I can imagine how emotional this moment must have been for her, but looked him in the eyes, and they had this little discussion, and she said something like, "I can't stop your execution, but I can forgive you, and I'm willing to forgive you, or I want to forgive you," something like that. "And you have my forgiveness." And so the guy went to his execution date with her blessing, with her forgiveness. And she felt relieved that she'd done that. And then she spent the rest of her life sort of repeating the whole process, helping others with forgiveness with inmates on death row, right, who'd been committed by violent crime and stuff like that. But that's the same thing in your own mind. I read these lessons, and on the surface, I say, yes, I'm willing. Yes, I want to do that. Jesus is talking to me through the course, post awakening, right? My will is not, I will not put false gods before him, right? He's kind of like alluding to the fact that he's made that decision for you, that that's how you want to proceed. It doesn't mean that that's how you actually want to proceed, right? That's just a rational mind. He's setting out for you a perfect example of a rational mind. I'll place no other gods before him. Right, now we've got to do the work of placing no other gods before him. And seeing also where we have in the past. If we still have past stuff that's showing up, we've got to look. Oh, I see I placed a false god back there. All right. I've placed false gods all around. Look at these two things here, wherever they are back there. They're false gods in the classic sense. They're like carved idols of, islander culture. But luckily, they don't mean anything to me. But they're pretty. Whoops. But it's not the physical manifestation of the false gods I'm looking for. It's the reason that I wanted it in the first place. It's the reason that I thought that thought system would be helpful to me, would be something I could count on, depend upon, which has only been as helpful as to bringing me to this Zoom meeting or to this Course in Miracles or to the altar or to my knees. You know, so what you read on the page, let it in, because it takes you to a whole other level within yourself. It takes you to a whole other level. The bottom of the sewerage pit. You go in there, you're going to put that hook on. It's one thing to stand on the top and imagine how bad that would be at the bottom. Warm, stinky sewerage. Can't open your mouth, dare not open your eyes. It's going to get in your ears. All of these fears and terrible terrors about what it is you think is going to be at the bottom. But it's another thing entirely to actually jump in and go down and put the hook on it. So it's like if I could ever get across one thing, it's like don't skim off the top. When you read these lessons, let it affect you. If it touches on you emotionally, let it touch on you emotionally. I want you to read the next lesson in a minute, Heidi, but let it touch on you emotionally. Then Doug's going to read one. Let it touch on you emotionally. All right. You'll be surprised. It's like how much more there is. Right? Outside of that superficial little band of where you think it's at. It's like keep an open mind. It's like, all right, Lord, I am willing to totally hear this lesson and feel this lesson. And man, I don't want to have to be here next week doing this lesson again. That's how much I want to hear it. That's how much I want to feel it. I want this lesson to shine the light in me so brightly that it becomes completely obvious and apparent where it is that my block is. There's the dream, and then there's the dream within the dream. Our work is to awaken from our dream within the dream. There's the world as it is, as a seemingly organic experience, and then there's the meaning that I've given it, that I lay on top of it, which is my own personal individual dream within it. That dream's false in its entirety, because I don't know the meaning of the world. I've been making it up as I go along ever since time began, adjusting to every kind of discomfort, adjusting the meaning until finally I just can't do it anymore. I realize what I'm doing and it's pointless. I'm going to be doing that forever. It's not fun. It's like, all right, why did I do that? Why did I decide to do that? Why did I think I should give the world a meaning? And then why have I been adjusting to it? Something is there that was the catalyst for me to start that. Somewhere I joined in a tiny mad idea of separation and made it real to me by doing that. That's what I'm going down the sewerage pit, put the hook. Not the sewerage itself. That's not my job. I'm going to get down there like this and keep my mouth shut. To the bottom and click the hook on and then pull myself back up as quick as I can. You got to do it. You're going to choke on a bit of shit on the way down. It's inevitable. Everybody does. You're going to gag. You're going to vomit. You're going to cry. It's going to get in your ears. It's going to be the horriblest, most worst thing you've ever chosen to do in your life. But you've already jumped in. You're already in the pit. Now, take a breath and go to the bottom, right? It's the opposite of what I always teach. So I always teach you guys to breathe. It's like, don't breathe. Just kidding, breathe. But go to the bottom. Yeah, exactly. So, anywho. All right, Heidi, I want you to read the next one. And then Doug, and then Anna. And then we're going to do a light session, I think. I've got a light session here this afternoon too. There's about 8 people coming. So it's going to be a big day. I had one the other day with a friend of mine. She came over. She's homeless at the moment. Came over and stayed a few nights with me here with her little boy. And we did a light session. And she got this funny channel in the middle of it. And she was telling me, don't sell my house, don't sell my house, don't sell my house. And yeah, I know it was weird. It was sort of like, it was still her voice, but it was like this straining to get it out kind of thing. And I'm like, what? You never know how the Holy Spirit's going to show up, you know, like it's just like. But at the moment, it's on the market for sale and whatever. And all I can do is sit back and say, okay. If it's meant to sell, it will. If it's not meant to, it won't. But I'll sit with that idea and I'll let it in and I'll ask God for guidance about it. You know, what else can I do, really? There's nothing else I can do. Go for it, Heidi. Read the next one. Did you have your Mother Mary moment?
I had a moment.
Right.
I want to look for things when I hear about something. I want to find, I want to see, I'm like, and then I let go and then I forgot for a while. And then I was in a meeting earlier this week, a class I started, and I said, I don't know why, like a certain point, I just was like, if there's going to be a Mother Mary moment, I need to hear it clearly. And whoever was speaking in the meeting was talking about God being a man and not being able to deal with it. And then was like, and immediately, like as soon as I had said that, like she goes, and then all of a sudden Mother Mary Magdalene came out and wrapped her arms around this group and said, like, and it was all the same. It was all the same. It was immediately after I had said that. Like not more than like 3 seconds later.
Right.
And I'm like, then I questioned it. I'm like, is that it? Was that like,
You always question it.
I was like, I needed to be clear. And then that was the next like words that came into my, it just was so clear. And then I questioned it.
That's okay.
But
It's
it was pretty wild.
Right. It's going to happen again. That's going to get deeper in you. Put your arms up like this. Put your hands up in the air. Close your eyes. Feel your fingertips. Feel your fingertips. Feel up where they are. Good. That's where you're going to have the experience, right up there where your fingertips are. It's going to be above you. You know, in the Bible where Jesus, not Jesus, where the scribes talk about Jesus's baptism and a dove descended from heaven and landed on his head. That's going to be your Mother Mary moment. There's going to be a moment where some recognition in you from above just at the tip of your fingertips. It's really specific. I can see it in here, something. I don't know how it's going to look though, but I can see it. It's like a vision or a prophecy or a something. I can't tell you, but there is energy in you that if I was to look at this as an idea of past lives, I would say, you know, everybody always wants to be somebody famous and whatever in a past life, but I would say that you were a handmaiden or a friend or a something to the mother of Jesus. You were there somewhere. Ted used to say we were all there. Like there's one mind, like conscious in the conscious collective. It's our mind that's there, regardless of whether we're African or American or Chinese or whatever. It's like in consciousness, we're all there. We have that moment. But your moment, your association with that moment is very close with the mother and very active in you. I don't really know how to talk about it other than that. It's like if you were to look at Jesus, right, as the hub of a wheel, Jesus is the middle, going around and around and around like that, the center around which everything focuses. And there's 12 spokes. Each of those disciples is a spoke. They all represent a certain frequency, a certain harmonic in the association of the divine healing or the divine process that Jesus is going through. It's no mistake he chose 12 disciples. Okay, there are 12 great rays that extend out from God. When I woke up in eternity, when I had that moment, all I could see were these incredible rays coming out. I couldn't delineate the rays from the whole, but I knew there was 12. I can't talk to you. It's like looking at the sun and saying, well, the sunlight is everywhere. How can you see individual rays? I mean, you can through clouds, you can see a bit of a ray there and a bit of a ray, and we call that a ray. But there is a ray association that you have in God as part of the whole of creation. And you'll harmonize in your return, in your awakening, in your return to sanity, let's say, in your return to love, you'll harmonize with certain frequencies that will bring you into an alignment with a particular ray association. It's like you're over here, you're over there, you're over here, you're over there. And some guys will be into Krishna, and you know they'll be like maybe Krishna's mother, Yashoda, or whatever her name was, Yasoda, and I always think of her as Soda. That's the only way I can remember her name. Yashoda, I think her name was. And other guys will associate with the Buddha and his disciple, not Kuan Yin, whoever the other one was, I forget the thing, and you have all these different things that you resonate with, right? Different ideas, different frequencies. The Mother Mary is a very powerful symbolic representation of an association with a particular frequency that lines up with Jesus from a divine sort of feminine point of view, right? I'm not into divine masculine and divine feminine. I think the whole thing is one divine thing. And that if we're looking at it from a particular specific aspect, we're kind of missing the mark, right? But yet you got to deal with things where you find them. And when I see things sometimes in people, it's like, oh man, that's just like something else. I'll resonate with it because I've already experienced it, or I know what it is in my mind, right? So it's like Anna over here. Anna's got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Tina's got a whole bunch of, Doug's got a whole bunch of stuff going on. And as you guys do more and more of the work and clear away more and more of the baggage, it becomes more and more obvious what ray association that you're kind of like dealing with or involved in or resonating with. It's all the one, like it's all part of the whole. But it's like, if you went right back to the beginning, Jesus held the light where two or more are gathered with 12 disciples. Imagine doing a light session with those guys 2,000 years ago, right at the prime crack of the resurrection when everything's going on and it's about to just go fucking ballistic. Some guy is about to raise up from the dead. 3 days in the tomb, put your fingers in my hands. You know, it's like Neo in the Matrix, the chosen one. It's never happened before. There have been prophecies about it in the Old Testament. The Savior's coming, the Savior's coming, the Savior's coming. Well, nothing good ever came out of Jerusalem. It can't be him. It can't be Jesus. He's just the son of a carpenter. Right? But what about his mother? It was a divine birth, immaculate conception. There's all of these associations that we have that make the not only the prophecy something that we would look at with an open mind, but the fulfillment of the prophecy also as something that we would look at with an open mind as having made sense of the prophecy itself in all of its parameters, right? The prophecy was fulfilled exactly to the letter, exactly as it was foretold. 7 generations before Jesus was even born. Coincidence? Of course not. In that fulfillment of that prophecy, right, there are aspects of it that will stand out for you individually, as an individual. You might resonate more with Thomas, the one who's always got doubt, or maybe you'll see yourself in Judas, the one that probably allowed greed to overcome the rationale for staying true to what was being presented. You know, there's all these sorts of things, but the Mother Mary is this one that, well, to me, represents the sanctity of the dawning of the fulfillment. Like it's the oh man, it's so sacred. People talk about birth as being a sacred act and want to idolize it, and women especially, it's a rite of passage, and there's a whole energetic thing that goes along with that. And being a guy in this incarnation, I don't really associate. I can accept that there's things about women and men that are different, and I understand it, but it's not my experience, right? But in this, it's my experience. When the angel came to Mary and said, you're going to have a child and you're going to call it Jesus, it's like, I heard that. When I read that, I heard it. It went bam. Now, there's part of that in you as well. There's something in you that, it's like there's a fabric woven from the same cloth. There's a thing. It's like there's a resonance, right? Sit in it, let it be, and try to feel that, right? It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. When you get a call, when you get a, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Oh, okay. So last night, my my Netflix subscription is not working, and so I have nothing but all my old videos to watch, which I've got like 20 or maybe even more, 30 videos in there, DVDs, not videos. I watched Saint Francis of Assisi. Hang on a second, I'll just get the, oh, I want to show you guys this. This isn't the one I wanted to watch, but I can't, it's kind of funny too, because I don't know if you can read it on here. See the price tag? I got it from a place called Sanity. And it's the story of Saint Francis of Assisi. And look, from Sanity, it says up there, I've got it upside down. So I'm watching this last night, and in the story, like it's a pretty Hollywood kind of depiction. Everything's a bit sort of glossy and thing. There's another one called Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, which is a really nice movie. Same story, St. Francis. But in the story, St. Francis is confronted by, or he's not St. Francis yet, he's just Francis. He's confronted by the imagery of his old dreaming. His father, the townsfolk or whatever, who tell him that he's going crazy. He's locked in jail after leaving the war as a deserter. All these sorts of things are going on. He doesn't even really know what's going on for him yet. All he knows was that while he was on the battlefield, he heard a voice from the sky tell him to lay down his sword and go home, come home, right? Which is the story of the prodigal son. Lay down your arms, come home. He heard that voice. Now, St. Francis went home, got arrested, the whole thing. Oh, and the voice told him that he would receive further instructions, what to do, right? This is the same for you, Heidi. You're going to get further instructions. There's going to be something else happen. The thing with St. Francis was he had all these people trying to convince him to come back to being the merchant's son, to come back to playing the part that they said he was born to play. He didn't know what part he was meant to play. He just knew that he would receive further instructions, and he decided not to play any part until he received a further instruction. Right? He didn't know what to do. It's like, I don't know what to do, but I'm just not going to do that. Right? So the thing that'll happen is the ego kicks in as soon as you start to have an experience and you look at it and you go, oh, I questioned it, and then it stopped. Right? In the moment that you were in that other class or that other thing and you had that moment and then you questioned it and you doubted it or whatever, it has to stop because you have free will to cast doubt over anything if you want to, right? That's not the end of the message. That's not the end of the particulars. Right? But you're going to have to, I don't know that you're going to have to, but you will come into confrontation with your own doubt about it again, right? Make sure you apply the principles in those moments, right? You're learning to hear. Your hearing is going to come through. I can't say it'll come through the Mother Mary. I can't say it'll be whatever it is, but it'll come through in that kind of vibration, through that kind of channel. I wouldn't be surprised if you did actually hear Mary, just as Helen Schuckman heard Jesus, but that energy is really strong in you. Anyway, that's enough about that. Read the lesson.
I see no neutral things. What I see witnesses to what I think. If I did not think, I would not exist. Because life is thought. Let me look on the world I see as the representation of my own state of mind. I know that my state of mind can change. And so I also know the world I see can change as well.
Good. Doug, you want to do one?
I'm not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. If I have no private thoughts, I cannot see a private world. Even the idea of separation shared before it could form the basis of the world that I see. Yet that sharing was a sharing of nothing. I can also call upon my real thoughts, which share everything with everyone. As my thoughts of separation call to the separation thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken.
Woohoo!
That
Good.
was a good one.
You heard that.
Yeah, I did.
I heard you hear it.
Oh, as my thoughts of separation call to the separate thoughts of others, so my real thoughts awaken the real thoughts in them. And the world, my real thought will dawn on their sight as well as mine.
Yes. Good. Anna. Oh, she's gone. Where did she go? Oh, she's back. No, she's glitching out. Are you guys seeing Anna? She keeps.
My battery's low.
Oh, if I'm plugged in. I'm just going to check. Oh, yeah. I'm plugged in and I'm turned on. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Anna, bring your camera down a little bit. I'm sort of looking up your nose here. There we go. Good. Stop for a second. You got to let the past go.
Yeah.
Don't tell me, yeah. Let it go. Take a breath. A conscious choice. You got to let all that go. This is a new moment. You're going to read this. This time. Breathe. Conscious choice. Let it go, Anna. Tell yourself, instruct yourself. Be firm and determined with your own mind, with your own thinking about things. Let it go. You're in charge now. This is a dream. You're awakening from a dream. That's all. There is nothing else going on here. You're awakening from a dream. This is what it looks like for you right now. Let go of the past. Don't worry about it, what it looks like for anyone else. Their bits and pieces is their bits and pieces. Some of us seem to have 10 pounds of shit and some of us seem to have 2. You got 10. Deal with it. It's your 10. You have the power. You have the strength. Because it's a single decision. I choose to let this go. I'm going to find my fuck it bucket and I'm going to stick it in the fuck it bucket. I can't do anything about it. Right. You literally can't do anything about it. It's going to have to be a miracle. You're on the front line. Why do I have to be on the front line, Lord? Why can't somebody else be on the front line? I'll just stand to the back a bit. I'll watch all the other guys with their emotional disasters. Have you ever been to like an AA meeting or anything like that and you watch everybody fall apart one by one? It's an incredibly ungraceful but yet graceful at the same time occurrence.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am alone in nothing.
Anna, Anna, look at me. Look here. Where are you? Look here. I love you. I love you so much. So much. It doesn't matter to me what the hell story you got going on. It doesn't matter what it is you think's bubbling around in there. I've seen you beyond all of that, beyond it all. And I've seen that I love you unconditionally, whether you return that or not. I don't care. You can't change my mind about it. It's set. It is set. The fix is in. You may still have the particulars of your own journey to deal with, things that you're looking at. But you also have me in your face telling you that I love you. And you don't even have to know what that means. You don't even have to understand it. You don't even have to try and comprehend unconditional love. You just have to know that I said it. It's in there. Something in you knows exactly what it means. Now read from that place. Read from that place where something in you knows what it means when I tell you that I love you. Don't listen to that other place. Don't listen to the echoes that come from the darkness.
I am alone in nothing. Everything I think or say or do teaches all the universe.
Breathe.
A son of God cannot think or act in vain. He cannot be alone in anything. It is therefore in my power to change every mind along with mine. For mine is the power of God.
You are loved and you are loving. are loved and you are loving. This is how you should think about yourself, because this is the truth. You are loved and you are loving. It's deep. What you're looking at is deep stuff. What seems to be going on, but seems to be is the word. Okay. Just for a second, step back, try to be the observer. Just for a second, look at the story that you're telling yourself again and again. Step back from it in your own mind. Step back. It's like, oh, I see what I'm doing here. I see I keep telling myself a story as if somehow I had some kind of responsibility to it. Associating your responsibility with guilt and with blame. And there's no blame, but we're learning to take the blame, not in a way that implies guilt, but in a way that implies our responsibility to self-love. Because Jesus is telling us we are loved and we are loving, and that's how we should think of ourselves. I am loved and I am loving. I'm a child of God. It doesn't matter what my circumstances are. Nothing can change that. I'm a child of God. It doesn't matter my story. It doesn't matter my situation. It doesn't matter even what I think of myself. Nothing can change it. You're a child of God. Let that in. I love you because of that. I don't love you because of an honor or a story or any of that. Those things are not lovable. I love you because of what you truly are. One with me, the Christ. This world is not our home. And all of these roots and tethers that we've put into this world to try and make it our home, we're now going to release them. We're going to forgive ourselves for what was impossible, for thinking that it was possible. We're going to let go of our illusions, our delusions, perhaps. We're going to let God tell us how to think of ourselves as loved and loving. I'm loved and I'm loving. Despite that we may feel to the contrary about that. I'm going to tell that to myself again and again and again. All my brothers everywhere are loved and loving. I'm taking a stand. I'm taking a stand and I'm going to set that as my bottom line. I'm going to set that as my bottom line. I am loved and I am loving. And I'm going to see that in everyone. I'm going to hold everyone to that. Because that's the truth. And all the other stories I have going on to the contrary of that are not the truth. That's the choice that we make today. That's this choice, this moment. I'm loved and loving. And so is everyone and everything else. Take a breath. That's how God thinks of you. That's how God knows you. It's only arrogance that would think otherwise. Breathe. Loved and loving. Stay there. I am loved and loving. I am loved and I am loving. Even if just the tiniest ray of light comes through, it's enough. The tiniest moment of peace. I am loved and I am loving. I am loved and I am loving. All that other stuff, let it go. Let it go. I'm loved and I'm loving. You got nothing to prove to anyone. You've got no criteria by which to judge yourself other than God's. The projections of others onto you don't matter a bit. You don't have to take them on board. You are loved and you are loving. You have to take them on board kind of if they affect you. If you buy into them and judge them, then you got to do your own inner work. But they're still not true. I'm loved and I'm loving. Ready? Anna, look at me. Say it.
I am loved and I am loving.
Say it again.
I am loved and I am loving.
And again.
I am loved and I am loving.
Again.
I am loved and I am.
This is the truth of you. This is the truth of you. I am loved and I am loving. Say it.
I am loved and I am loving.
Again, just keep saying it. You'll know when you're really saying it. You'll hear yourself say it.
I am loved, loving.
There's a point where you're going to be saying it, and we got all day. There's a point where you're going to be saying it, where you're going to be just reach this threshold of being sick and tired of saying it and not connecting with it. You're going to be like, fuck it. I'm loved and I'm loving. Where's my fuck it bucket? I'm putting all that shit in there. Don't let the world tell you who you are. Not your friends, not your family, not anyone. Not even me. Only God can validate you. That's it. God told me, you are loved and you are loving. What am I going to do? Argue with God? I tried that once. Look what happened. I'm not going to try it again. All right, you ready? I'm loved and I'm loving. Take two.
I am loved and I am loving.
Good, that's better. One more time.
I am loved and I am loving.
Come on, push it.
I am loved and I am loving.
Push it. Push, push, push.
I am loved and I am loving.
Come on. One more time. All together. I am loved and I am loving.
I am loved and I am loving.
That's God talking to you. I am loved and I am loving. You can hear this over 1,000 years or you can hear it now. It's your choice, but you will hear it because you did already. This is done in you somewhere. Ready? I am loved. Loving.
I am loved. I am loved and I am loving.
Good. Again. Vomit. There you go. You just saw how ridiculous it was, didn't you? You just saw it. You just looked at it in your own mind and went, what the fuck? Right. Now say it.
I am loved and I am loving.
Right. That's better. That feels nice. One more time. Ready?
I am loved and I am loving.
Good. Feel free to keep saying that like throughout the meeting. We're happy to hear it. Sometimes you just need a moment. You just got to like take a moment and just like force yourself to bloody shut up. Sometimes you need some guy in a blue beanie to tell you to shut up. Listen to God's version of things. It's much nicer. I'm loved and I'm loving. I'm going to repeat that 1,000 times today. I'm going to repeat that in the face of everything that tempts me to believe anything to the contrary. I'm going to repeat it until I hear it. I'm going to repeat it until it's my mantra. I'm loved and I'm loving. Because I need to hear
I'm
that.
loved and I'm loving.
Right. How good is that? I bet you feel like hot chocolate now.
Feel like what?
I bet you feel like hot chocolate. You know, I always feel like hot chocolate or something sweet when I have a little breakthrough moment. And it's just like, I feel like a reward. Right, Heidi's the same. I feel like I should treat myself now, but I've only got water. I've run out of my chocolate and I have no milk, so I'm having water. But I can pretend. I am loved and I am loving, and I shall do the miracle of the hot chocolate. It doesn't work that way, but do not use miracles as spectacles to induce belief. Even though on a daily basis here we have miracles. Tina, your turn. We've had a Heidi thing happen. We've had a Doug thing happen. We've had an Anna thing happen. Now, you're on the spot. Feel free to tell me to fuck off. Ooh. Read a lesson. Anna, I want you to drink some water, actually. Gonna have a big glass of water, like a big one. Wait, we'll wait for you. Can you tell I'm looking at you, Tina?
Oh. I thought we were waiting for Anna.
It's funny, it's a little tiny dot, my camera here, but like it picks me up, but I'm looking over this way, like you're over there on my screen. My left.
There it is. Okay. Waiting for Anna.
You don't have to wait for Anna, she's fine. She's loved and loving. You're the one that we're all waiting for.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you can go ahead.
She was waiting for you. Go ahead. Let's push through that, shall we? Together.
Oh.
It goes back to Moses. I'm going to look at this historically. I'm going to look at everything historically. It went back to Moses. Ha ha! You didn't go. Moses went into the desert with all the people and you didn't go. That's the story we're going to use. You ready? Look at it. Close your eyes. All your people. Let's do it. Let's do it. This is historic. It's historic and you know it.
Oh, okay. I am determined to see. Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts. Recognizing the shared nature of my thoughts. I am determined to see. I would look upon the witnesses that show me the thinking of the world has been changed. I would behold the proof that what has been done through me has enabled love to replace fear. Laughter to replace tears. And abundance to replace loss. I would look upon the real world and let it teach me
Yes.
that my will and the will of God are one.
Do the next one.
I am determined to see things differently.
Yes.
What I see now are but signs. Ooh. What I see now are but signs of disease, disaster, and death. This cannot be what God created for his beloved son.
Thank you.
The very fact that I see such things is proof that I do not understand God. Therefore,
God for that. God for that proof.
therefore, I also do not understand his son.
Oh, thank goodness.
What I see tells me that I do not know who I am.
Bingo.
Oh, I am determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself.
Good. I'm going to give you a catalyst and I want you to sit with it for 3 days. I want you to sit with these ideas. You were left behind in Egypt.
Seriously?
Yep. Yep. That didn't take long. Good.
Okay.
I'll use anything. I'll literally use anything. I could tell you any story, but the emotionality contained in it, right? The package. That's the package. Right. But this is your crusade. Literally.
Fuck.
You can't do this. Listen to me. You can't do this. This will take you to the bottom. This will take you as deep as you have ever been. Deeper. This will take you right to the bottom. Okay. You have to do this with the Holy Spirit.
Oh man. Oh. Oh fuck. Oh man. Oh.
The story is not true, like any story is not true. But there is a trigger. There is a catalyst. There is so much there. Presenting what's directly in front of you. The lady that works with me, this is a cool story. The lady that works with me has been to Cairo and been to the pyramids and been to the Great Pyramid, supposedly built by the slaves. Right? She said that when she did the tour, and went into the pyramid, she couldn't breathe. She felt imprisoned in there, entombed. She couldn't breathe. Not because there was no air in there. They pump air in and there's tourists in and out all day. She got a feeling of being completely entombed, encapsulated, like thousands and thousands and millions of tons of rock all around her. Try to imagine how that might feel, to be entombed, to be imprisoned. That's an emotional package. It's terrifying. When I was a little boy, and this is one I've been through personally, when I was a little boy, I wasn't a little boy, I was a teenager, about 13 maybe. We had these in the sports auditorium, we had these mats that are really thick, and you do pole jumping over the bar and you land on the mats, right? And the mats takes like 6 people to pick up the mat and lift it. It's so heavy. It's this big spongy thing. We dared each other. There were 2 mats. We dared each other to go in between the mats like a sandwich, and everyone else would jump on the top mat when you were in the middle one. You wouldn't get hurt. When I had my turn and I went inside the mats, in between the mats, immediately I couldn't move my arms, my legs. There was this immobility. It's like when you're in a moment of total terror, you can't move. There's total immobility. You can't move. The fear automatically comes up. I felt imprisoned. I felt entombed. I felt all of those things in those mats. I was screaming in the mats. I could feel boom, boom on top. There's 3 or 4 other guys jumping. I'm screaming, let me out, let me out. I wanted to get out. That emotionality was deep. It's where you're at. You keep bouncing off it. But it's where you're at now. Every one of us is the same. We're always bouncing off it, bouncing off it, bouncing off it. Looking at it again and again and again. There's a shift about to happen in your consciousness. It's literally right in front of you. I've given you a catalyst. It doesn't matter what the catalyst is. The catalyst is a tool. It's useful for a purpose. In this case, the purpose is healing. It's going to be healing that idea in you, that those associations that you have with the relationship with God that you okay, as being ostracized or left behind or abandoned or any of that sort of stuff. That's the signature it's going to carry emotionally. You're going to feel that. You'll go into it. But you're not going to go into it alone. Right? This is a journey that we've chosen to join with each other and do this healing together. My strength will be your strength. Anna's strength. It's the same process. Anna's strength will be your strength. Doug's, Heidi's. All of us are your witness to truth. You're the administrator or the facilitator of this Zoom group. You're the hub. I'm just the mouthpiece. I'm just the guy that never shuts up. You're the hub. This group is moving along, moving along, moving along. Things are happening. Things are changing. Things are shifting, right? Consciously as a group, we're starting to come into a harmonic, a vibration, an association with each other, where we understand what each of us is going through. We're starting to see the particulars of how that consciously occurs in our minds and where it is we go with it and what we do with it. You've got to drop the story of what you think you are and let the catalyst show you what you're not. Just for a second. It's like it's a moment of hearing, it's a moment of recognition, it's a moment of confrontation, but that's why we're here. That's what we're doing. Everyone has a trigger. Everyone has a catalyst. There's a lot of energy in that for you. And the energy of it is going to show up as denial. The energy of it is going to show up as not wanting to look at it, not wanting to go there. But knowing that you have to at some point, knowing that everything must be forgiven, everything must be released. The problem you're going to have with that is that you'll find it very difficult not to try and decide what you think that's going to look like in advance. It can be as simple as that. Snap of the fingers and it's done. Or it can end up being this long, drawn-out process. But there are these ring past knots. There are these moments where you'll have a conscious shift. And everything will change after a conscious shift. You keep coming up against the moment of conscious shift in your own mind and backing off. We all do. It's no big deal particularly. It's just part of it. But it's obvious to me that you keep backing off. Most of us try to keep a happy face and pretend we're doing okay. There's a moment that you're this far away from. It's like it's literally like this. It's a single decision to say yes to it, to go into it, to let yourself feel it without any idea how that ought to look. Don't try to determine it's going to be completely devastating. Don't try to preempt the healing. Let it be miraculous. I'm constantly sitting in an action of self-forgiveness, constantly, all day, every day. This thought, that thought. When I'm in the kitchen making my sandwiches, when I'm on my motorcycle riding to work, this thought, that thought, this thought, that thought. Every now and again, and I think if you were to look at it historically as an idea of transformation, most people who've been through a really comprehensive process like this would tell you that there are a good 3 or 4 intense confrontations, apart from all the little ones that seem to come along the way. Usually there's one with family and friends, one with God, which is the obvious one, right? One with your own historic reference, karmic reference, your genetic code. That's a strong one. Right? And the other one is with love, or your ideas of love, which is not what love truly is. Okay. So for the next 3 days, and I'm just saying 3 days because that's kind of like the magical thing. For the next 3 days, sit in that energy. You just felt it. Okay. Sit in it. You can get angry. You can be like, why doesn't Dave see me as the Christ? You can be like all these sorts of things. But I'm inviting you to sit in it. You'll pop through it. You'll pop through it automatically because you're in a process of healing. It's an automatic process with the Holy Spirit, but you have to consciously be a part of it. When you're making your soda, when you're going to yoga class, whatever, carry that energy with you. Don't try to adjust from it and be all bippity boppity boo. Okay? Carry it with you as the observer of it. You don't have to become embroiled in the emotionality of it, you can step back objectively and look at it and go, wow, I've got a whole ton of stuff here going on. I see that I keep adjusting to it, adjusting to it, adjusting to it. I've got a ton of stuff going on. I want to push through this, or maybe you don't, but we're here to do that. Look at me. You've already done this. You've already done it. Jesus has resurrected. That is in you. This is just looking back in time on a journey, how that occurred. This is a dream already over. We're just here to speed that up. We're back in time. We're time travelers. You seen that movie, what is it, Looper, where the guys can jump to another place in time and they go back and they fix the mistake they made? Oh no, it was 13 Monkeys. That's it. 13 Monkeys. It was a good movie, Doug. Did you see that one?
Long time ago.
Yeah, I think it was Bruce Willis. And he had to go back in time and fix the mistake that he made. Right? I mean, all of the whole mistake is just one moment, one error of perception. It's like, but it shows up in many, many different ways, again and again and again and again. If you were Chinese, for example, or if you were, what do you call it? What's that? Not Bulgaria. What's the thing above China? The big country there. Oh my God. Genghis Khan. Where do they come from? What's that called? Siberia. No, that's Russia. You know where I'm talking about. Up there where they all wear those funny hats.
Mongolia.
Mongolia, that's the one. If you were Mongolian, right, you would have a genetic and historic reference that would be encoded through your DNA, through your genetic cellular association. The body is a manifestation of the thoughts that you have about it. You cannot not avoid it. You can't get out of this by saying, well, why does that have to be me? Or what about something else? Or why does it look like that? Because it does. You're given exactly what you need to do this with. Exactly. If you're Mongolian, you could probably go all the way back to the slaughterers of Genghis Khan and the horrors and the thing. That would take you into a deep place. If you had a strong historic reference with it, you'd be brought up, teaching about it in schools and learning about it and all these sorts of things. Right? Being incarcerated and imprisoned and all of those sorts of things is a historic reference, and feeling left behind, feeling like abandoned and all of that sort of stuff. I don't have many references for that. I have one of looking at an idea of how they sent convicts to Australia, which is probably how come I'm here, for stealing a loaf of bread. Put on ships and sent for 6 months to another place where they were put into chains and made to work hard labor their whole life for stealing a loaf of freaking bread. How bad must have things been in England? What kind of society was that you would send your own people to another country on the other side of the world to be done with them, to get rid of them? Every single one of us has strong historic references. When I grew up, my grandfather, my father, my great-grandfather all had strong ties with the military service. My grandfather on my dad's side, who was a bit of a hero to me, was 25 years in the Royal Navy and 25 in the Merchant Marine. I grew up imbued with a kind of genetic association of the sea, and I felt it. I wanted to be a part of it. It just drew me and attracted me. It was a story about my bloodline that went back. It's as meaningless as any other one, but I can use it. I can use what I've got. I can use what I've been given in this life. Every one of us has something. It's not just this little shell that we seem to find ourselves sitting in, this avatar in the year 2022. Our mind is expansive. It's not like you can go back and fix the past, but you can see where it is you have a harmonic with it. You can see where it is that a story rooted in the past can affect you now. There's no more obvious example that it's an illusion. How can something that no longer exists affect you in any way, shape, or form? But yet it does. The Aboriginal people in our country, persecuted and run out of their own homes. The Native American Indian in America, persecuted and run out of their own lands. Exactly the same. It's like if you were a modern day person growing up in either of those cultures, you would have an incredible opportunity in this environment of healing to dig into a catalyst for healing that would be prominent and prevalent in your genetic association. It's there. If you were to tell your grandparents or great-grandparents who experienced stuff along those lines that you didn't care about it because you're a modern day person, they would probably look at you like you were disrespectful. And that's how it is that we take on board these things. We take on board a bearing with them and an affinity with them so that we can be respectable and respectful to our predecessors and our ancestors and all of these things. We don't want to be the one that disrespects those who've brought us here. But now we're done with that. We're done with tradition. We're done with all of that sort of stuff that goes back. We're breaking free, all of it. And we're going to use our stories. We're going to use our heritage and our history and our genetic lineage and all of that kind of thing, all those iconic ideological sort of associations, everything we can, because we're in a speed up. Otherwise, what are we going to do? Sit on the couch and watch Netflix? Or are we going to make some bold experiments with this? Are we going to get into something and see if there's anything there? This is not what normal people do. Normal people don't do a complete psychological overhaul of themselves in the middle of their lives. I'm going to do a complete psychological overhaul and reevaluation based on the fact that I'm loved and loving. I'm going to look at everything in the light of that I believe about myself. And some of the stuff that I believe about myself, I'm not even aware I believe it until a catalyst or a trigger is thrown in my face. Until I'm made aware of it, right? But there is nothing covered that won't be uncovered. Everything. Emotional healing is hell. All right. Draw a circle. Close your eyes. You ready, Tina?